So I'll introduce myself a little bit here and have Bill introduce himself as well. So my name is Bridget. Like Daniel was saying, you might recognize me as I have been on campus at Ohio State before. I sit in our Twin Cities office in Minnesota, and I help support a lot of our college recruiting efforts here at the firm. So I tend to focus on a lot of our Midwest schools, which is why I go to Ohio State frequently. But I tend to do a lot of our hiring from the college perspective here at Kimley-Horn. So I'll have Bill introduce himself as well, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Bill Skiba. I am an analyst here at Kimley-Horn. I am about 4 and a few months into my career here. If you've been to these sessions before, you may have heard me speak. I started with Kimley-Horn back in May of 2016 when I graduated from OSU here in Columbus. I took a position with Kimley-Horn down in our Dallas, Texas office. I spent maybe about a year and 2-3 months there doing the same kind of work I'm doing here. And then when the opportunity presented itself to help open up our Columbus office, I jumped right on that and quickly relocated back home. So been with Columbus now since we opened back, I believe it was August of 2017 now. Been able to grow my role from being a analyst that was pretty much focused on production and everything and anything related to that. Now I feel I'm more of a project manager, actively winning work with our clients, trying to pursue leads and get that work organized and out the door. So I'll hand it back over to Bridget, but happy to take any questions as we keep going more about specifically my role and some of the stuff that Bridget talks about, and just really anything you may want to ask about Kimley-Horn. I'm here to help.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Kimley-Horn, just kind of in general, what we do, kind of what makes us unique and things like that. Bill will chime in throughout the presentation as well, and then he's going to share a little bit more directly about what he does more specifically too. So let's get moving. So who is Kimley-Horn? So we are primarily a civil design engineering firm. We have offices all throughout the country. It's funny, this presentation is not old whatsoever, and we already have outdated numbers. So we're working to get those updated, but I believe now we have over 90 plus offices across the country, over 4,000 employees. I think it might even be closer to 4,500, and over 50 years of client service. So we're missing a couple dots on here as well of some offices that have opened really recently. For example, we just opened an office about a month ago in Kansas City, which is exciting for us here in the Midwest area. But as you can see, we kind of tend to be fairly coastal, kind of across the United States, and then we do have our offices here within the Midwest region. So like I said, we focus on civil engineering, but we also have services within environmental engineering, planning, and landscape architecture as well. One of the other things on the bottom here, you can see that we have repeatedly been on Fortune's list for best companies to work for. This is something we're super proud of. We like to put it on any presentation that we possibly can. It is surveys that we fill out about our time here at Kimley-Horn and if we like it or not. So we're not paying Fortune to continue to be on their list. But it's something we're super proud of. And a lot of the things that we'll be talking about tonight are because some of the reasons why we continue to be on that list. Cool. So what do? We are a multidisciplinary consulting firm. So our main goal is to be a one-stop shop for a lot of our clients. We don't necessarily have a particular focus on one specific area, but we want to be able to provide a variety of different services for a variety of different clients. So as you can see here, these are some of the disciplines that we tend to focus on. I want to point out a couple of them that I feel like are maybe where we tend to have a bulk of our services. I'd say development services, which is what Bill focuses on, which he'll talk about a little bit more as well. And then some of our transportation services in terms of transportation planning or roadway work, as well as some of our water work. So surface water, water utilities, and things of that nature. I'd say those are some of our more common disciplines throughout the country. We even have some that aren't even necessarily listed here because we just continue to keep growing. Some of our more emerging markets, I would say throughout even the Midwest specifically too, you can see technology listed there. That's our telecom services, as well as our energy practices have been growing really quickly. So Bill will be talking a little bit more about what it means to be in development services at Kimley-Horn later, but any questions or comments, or like any of these look kind of funny that you have questions on? I know not a lot of these are always talked about in school. I feel like a lot of times in college, there might be a couple different focuses, right? Maybe you pick structures or water, or transportation, but you don't realize kind of the breadth of different things that you could be doing as a civil engineer when you graduate. Anyone?
I
Forensics
was
kind
like
of stands out to
curious.
me. Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna point out forensics as well.
hmm So I will say that's a pretty niche area that we're in. I actually don't know if we actually have anyone in forensics in the Midwest, which is the region I focus on, but we do have some folks in Florida and other parts of the country. It's basically civil engineers that will get hired by certain clients in order to do research on maybe a bridge collapse or something along those lines. So not a bridge that we designed or anything like that, but we'll get hired by a client in order to do the forensics research as to why that may have happened. And I mean, not to say whose fault it is, but essentially whether it maybe was a design flaw or a construction flaw or things like that. And they will actually stand up in court at times as well and have to give statements and things like that. So definitely unique. Anything else? Well, like I said, Bill's going to talk a little bit more about kind of what he does. Some of these areas are, depending on what office you're in as well, can sometimes be kind of combined too. Like, for example, our parking services can sometimes be part of development services as well as surface water. Sometimes they're separated out into their own teams. Every part of the country, dependent on your clients and things like that, can look a little bit different.
Yeah, Bridget, just on that note of touching on development services and how that relates to some of the other practices that we pursue here with Kimley-Horn, I almost think of development services as kind of a catch-all, if you will. We do a little bit of everything as it relates to what you see on this list here. So, I'm involved with the design of surface water conveyance. I'm involved with the design of paving as it relates to new installation and various kinds of development. I'd say, touching on forensics a little bit, something closely related to that kind of analysis is how we do inspections, something we're also involved in with development services. So, development services, I almost say we're a jack of all trades, can kind of do a little bit of everything, multi-purpose. And then with some of the other disciplines, like telecom, for example, which is big in our new Northeast Ohio office, that's more specifically focused on that element within development, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And some of these services kind of stemmed off of each other, right? So as we keep continuing to grow, for example, our energy practice, initially it was just a couple of folks within development services that did a lot of site civil land development for some solar farms. And then we got so much work in that industry that we broke it out into its own separate group, because it wasn't just one client within development services. It became its own whole separate discipline on its own. And one of the large areas we're doing a lot of energy work right now is in our Chicagoland area. But I will say in other parts of the country, it still might be a small portion of development services. They might not have gotten to that point where they separate them out yet. So we do things in a very organic manner. As you can kind of see, a lot of these things kind of stem from each other. Like our transit work came from a lot of transportation work that we were doing, and so on and so forth. So we're all about growth, and we move fairly quickly, but we also want it to be organic and make sense for us. We don't want to spread ourselves too thin from a multidisciplinary standpoint. Perfect. So, kind of stemming off of what I was just talking about, teamwork. So, teamwork is absolutely paramount to our success here at Kimley-Horn. The way that we're structured within our firm just really helps us get through difficult times as well. I like to use this slide a little bit differently than I have in the past, just to kind of expand on how it's helped us through times like this. It's been a little crazy the past couple months, as you all can imagine. Your school is virtual, and a lot of companies had to go virtual, and all this type of stuff. Um, I'll be honest, throughout this process, we lost clients as a firm, right? We had some projects get put on hold. We had other projects pick up. We still gained new clients through all of this. So, just a lot of change. And I think that the way that we're structured really helped us kind of weather the storm in that sense and really be able to tackle a lot of this work and not have to make any, major layoffs or workload, changes in that sense. So, we function as one profit center at Kimley-Horn. So what that means is all of our offices, so all of those dots that you saw on the screen, um, we're all working together. We're not competing against each other. We're all working towards a common goal. So, what that means is that we can share our resources amongst all of our offices. So, for example, Bill sits in our Columbus office. If his team won a huge project where they need additional help, we'll take somebody maybe in our Twin Cities office, or they could be in Atlanta, they could be in Raleigh, they could be in California, who maybe their team lost a client during the pandemic and now they don't have quite as much work to do. That person could help Bill's team complete their project in Columbus on a virtual basis, so that they can stay busy. So we have people in our firm. I I always I don't know the best word for this, but I always commend our production managers and don't know how they do their job because they are some of the busiest people I have ever met. But we have people in our firm, our production managers, who are managing our workload throughout the firm. So they're taking a look at where we're really busy, where we might need more help, where we have people who are light on work, and basically evenly distribute that work throughout our firm. So most of the time you're working on projects for clients that are in your office and in your area, but we are able to do what we call shifting in order to move folks around to make sure that everybody's busy and we can meet all of our deadlines and please our clients throughout the country. So pre-COVID, a lot of our shifting took place physically. So we would, let's say that person in Atlanta is going to go help out Bill's team in Columbus. We might fly them to Columbus, put them in a hotel, have them there for a week to help complete the project and go back to Atlanta. We did a lot of virtual shifting, where you just work on that project while you're in your office, prior to COVID. But of course, when COVID hit, all of our shifting became virtual. But the nice thing is that we already had that structure in place. It was already something that we did on a very consistent basis. So it's something that we continue to do. Bill, I don't know if you have any examples of if you've fully relocated before, but shifted it all to help on a project or even had people come to your office to shift to help out.
Yeah, I've worked with a number of shifts that have temporarily been on our team as we've worked through some projects. I myself shifted prior to my relocation to ensure the fit with the team I was relocating onto was going to work. But on the subject, and this is a great slide, Bridget, I was at a socially distanced lunch with one of our practice leads earlier this week, and we were talking about some of the value that shifting provides in our offices. And I think something that's understated is it gives our young professionals an opportunity to really get involved with a different leadership style, or get involved with maybe something they're not necessarily familiar with, or they've never had the chance to work on something before. So it's a great opportunity that we can provide some of our young people to really get involved in working on something new that they may be unfamiliar with. And,
Mhm.
I'd say some of the greatest periods of growth in my career to this point have been those opportunities where I had no idea what I was doing going into. I mean, heck, I really had no idea what I was doing when I moved to Texas right out of school. So I'd say that, the new opportunities and being presented with something that you may be unfamiliar with is a really great benefit of the shifting culture that we have here at Kimley-Horn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can think of someone recently, actually, we hired here in our Twin Cities office who worked for another very reputable consulting firm here in the Twin Cities, but they were local. She worked on projects that were simply local and she wanted to grow and learn more about projects and things that weren't just within the city of Minneapolis, and be pigeonholed in that sense. And since she's been here, she's worked on projects in, I keep saying Atlanta, but she did work on something in Atlanta, and worked on a variety of different projects, and has just learned so much because there's different, you know, rules and regulations and things that are always different from state to state or city by city. And so she's just really been able to expand her skills and abilities, even within just a couple months of being here, rather than being pigeonholed into one particular city and one particular type of project. So absolutely great learning opportunities. Any questions on this? I will say too, if you're not interested in shifting and like you're someone where you're like, I got a, my girlfriend at home, I got a dog, I'm not really someone who likes to travel, that's fine. You don't have to. You could be approached about a shift and pass, and no one's going to look at you any differently and say, oh, they didn't take this opportunity. Everybody's different. But some people love being able to travel or do some of these other things. And so that's a good opportunity for them to do that too.
I think all that contributes to the core purpose of we want to create an environment for our people to flourish. And if you're not somebody that is really into shifting or relocating or getting on a plane frequently, that's not for you, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not going to like set you back in your career by any means. I know some people who literally shift constantly. And I know some people who've never shifted in basically their entire career here at Kimley-Horn. So it's part of what we do, but if it's not something you're interested in, don't worry. You're not going to be like getting shipped to a different city all the time or anything like that. But if you want to be, you could raise your hand and maybe you'll get the chance to. Cool. So moving forward, we want to talk a little bit about some of our training and development, and I'll probably have Bill chime in too of some of the programs that he's gotten a part or been a part of here. But I like to separate them into the two sections here. So you see on the bottom, these are more of our kind of technical engineering related trainings. And then on the top, I like to think of them more as like culture based or business based trainings. So our technical training, well, I should start. Our AutoCAD or MicroStation bootcamp happens within your first 2 weeks. So super helpful. I will say it's fairly basic. It's helpful to get some of the basics down, but you're going to learn a lot more about CAD and Civil 3D and just design software in general by learning from your peers and kind of just diving right in. So super helpful in the beginning, but you will continue to learn more and more. Our technical training is really unique and something that we like to touch on in these presentations because it's developed in-house. I'm sure all of you in one way or another, whether it was through an internship or through school, were required to do some sort of training that was put on by a third party where you're like sitting there and watching videos and it's like these people in these tacky outfits or uniforms like talking about something and you're like, this doesn't even apply to like what I do and this is a waste of my time and I don't want to answer the 3 questions at the end of this talk and see if I pass it or something. So our technical training is not that. It's developed in-house and it is run by engineers within our firm. So you'll get the chance to listen to engineers who currently work here that are essentially teaching you the things that you need to know. The nice thing is it's specific to what you do. So if you are in transportation, it's going to be transportation oriented. If you're in development services, it's going to be civil site development oriented. So it's just additional training to help you out. You all go to a wonderful school and you're getting a great education, but it can't help. It can't hurt to keep learning and growing from a technical perspective, especially within your first couple years. On the top, I like to think of these more as kind of culture-based trainings, a little bit more about Kimley-Horn, the fundamentals of consulting, how we like to separate within practices, and then our consultant training. So typically consultant training comes after you take your PE. So that's why we kind of put it at years 4 to 6, because usually you would go whenever you get your PE, which is usually around years 4 to 6. So that training is super crucial. We like to call it like our mini Kimley-Horn MBA program, because we teach you a lot of the business side of consulting. We're a consulting firm at this point. You know, you went to school for engineering. You're going to be a great engineer at that point, right? But we want to teach you the business side of things as well. So like Bill was saying, and he'll kind of continue to talk about, you know, he did great technical work his first couple of years, and now he's starting to manage projects and talk to clients and stuff like that. We want to teach you all of the ways that you can do that. So just a lot of different training opportunities throughout your career.
Yeah, I'd say in hindsight, the technical training is one of the most handy things I was able to involve myself in as I have grown my career here at Kimley-Horn. And it's unique, I think, because the value of which I kind of derived from that as I was doing it is different than the value I have in hindsight from doing that. In that when I was first getting into some of this stuff, went to Ohio State, got my degree in civil engineering. I learned a lot of the same stuff you guys did, maybe not to the extent, but what we do is unique to the job that we do. And it's not necessarily something that you took a test on or exam on or had to study for and write a paper on in school. So a lot of what the technical training does initially is it puts these things in front of you and lets you know this is part of the product that we are putting together. And then in hindsight, you know, a year or two down the road, you know, we do a lot of different work. We take on a wide variety of scope in some of the work that we do, especially within development services. So something I do today, you know, I might not do again for another year and a half. So it's awesome to have these resources right at your fingertips to be able to go back, tighten up some of the screws, and really put together a quality product.
Couldn't agree more, Bill. Cool. I know I want to get to some of Bill's section as well, and I realize I'm talking a lot and talking kind of slow. So I might go a little quickly through some of these slides, but I want to make sure to hit on a couple things. So our structure, or our organization, I should say. I always laugh at this slide because I'm like, here's our org chart. And if you like go to another company, it's going to be like this big web of things. And this is basically as complicated as we get. But the main things to point out, our clients are always at the top. We want to provide exceptional client service. That's our goal. So by doing that, our clients are always going to be on the top and they're always going to come first. The great thing about this triangle being upside down is that as our clients continue to grow, everything underneath this continues to grow. So as we keep bringing in more and more work, we're able to continue to hire more and more engineers, more and more support groups, and give more people management opportunities. Two other things I want to point out are practice teams. When you hear the word practice, you tend to think of maybe lawyers or doctors or things like that. We function in practices here at Kimley-Horn. So you could run your own practice in terms of you are a practice builder and you are bringing in work to the firm and managing a group underneath you that helps you get those projects done. So Bill is working with a practice builder in order to make sure that projects are completed and help manage those clients. That process takes everybody different amounts of time. It's not like overnight you just become a practice builder. It's not like a promotion that you necessarily get, but the whole premise is that you're bringing in work to Kimley-Horn and you're bringing in clients, and that can happen at a variety of different stages in your career. And if that's something you're really passionate about, you can get the chance to do that pretty early on in your career as well. And then you can see our management is at the bottom. So our management considers themselves service leaders. So they are here to serve us. They are here to support and help us in any way that we need it. But they are not going to be at the top of the triangle. That's always our clients. So I don't want to dwell on this too much. Our support groups is folks like myself. My clients are our people in practice. How I support them is by hiring people that they need. Similar to our accounting staff, our finance staff, anything like that, marketing. We have amazing marketing staff, and they are all kind of within that support group that serves our engineers to make them as successful as possible to keep getting more clients. Again, I don't want to dwell on this too much because I want to get to some other aspects, but it is a little bit of a unique process on how we're structured. Cool. Perks. I could literally talk about this page for like 45 minutes. If it was like, oh, you can only pick one slide, it would be here. So Kimley-Horn is able to provide so many amazing perks and benefits to your career here at Kimley-Horn. These are some of the reasons why we continuously keep getting ranked on Fortune's top places to work. And all of these are true. Like, we're not sitting here like blowing steam and saying, oh, we do all of these great things and you could get this really big bonus and it's great. Like, no, you will get a good bonus if you work hard, and it's really awesome. And we all know what happens on December 15th. So these are all just a really, really important to us. And honestly, what keeps people here at Kimley-Horn and why we continuously continue to be one of the best places to work. So as you can see on top, what you think you should get right, a bonus, a retirement contribution, things like that. I want to hit on a couple things here. Which ones should I focus on? Well, like I said, our bonuses are performance based. Essentially, you work hard, you put in the effort, you be a good team player, you help your partners out, you help others grow as well as yourself. You get a big old bonus at the end of the year. As simple as that. It's not just about, of course, we're a consulting firm, right? We're a business. You have to be profitable and successful. So we do look at, right, how much time you're working on stuff that goes to clients, your billable work and hours and things like that. That is important, but that's not everything. You could do a zillion billable hours that year, but if you weren't a good partner and you never helped your teammates and you didn't help others around you grow and be better at their jobs, that's not a high performer here at Kimley-Horn. So we look at a lot of different factors and how you're growing in your career as well, but our bonuses are super important. I mean, stock and ownership, this is something you're probably not thinking about right now. But to be a part of a company where you can be a current shareholder while working at that firm is a really unique opportunity. We are employee owned, so we have now over 4,000 employees. I believe we have over 400 shareholders. So you can work right next to a shareholder of our firm. And I think that holds a lot of weight. Something that you might not really think about being important in a company when you're looking at jobs out of college, but to know that the people that are making the decisions for your firm are the people that you work right next to. I mean, I trust that more than some random person in New York making decisions on what's going to happen to our company. So it's a really unique opportunity and something that you might not be thinking about right now, but to be an owner of our company I think that's a pretty cool opportunity.
I think it's a pretty unique thing to run down the board of directors and see PE, landscape architect, PE. These are all people that came from practice. These are engineers. These are architects. I believe our current president right now is landscape architect Steve Lefton.
Mm-hmm.
So these are people that actively came from practice, that were actively winning work, that were in the trenches. They understand what it takes to put together a quality product and what it takes to put people in a position to flourish. What does a good job look like and how do they define that unto others? And these are all things that we see in our leadership. And I couldn't be happier to work for somebody that I know has been in my shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. And to know that the people that you're talking to, are the ones making big decisions. It's like, I trust these people, I talk to them all the time. And those are the people that I want, speaking on behalf of our firm. And I always joke, we will be employee owned forever because I challenge someone to negotiate with 450 people and see if they can buy them out. It will never happen. So we will continue to be this way, and it's a really cool opportunity. Some of these other little things are obviously spot bonuses. Everybody likes money randomly when you're not expecting it. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Lunch coupons are a way for you within your first couple years to get a free lunch on Kimley-Horn if you take out somebody who's been here longer than you have. Really great chance to talk to, especially people that kind of don't do what you do, like people within other teams and stuff that you don't talk to on a daily basis, and just create those relationships. Teamwork awards, you can give $50 of Kimley-Horn money, not your own, to one of your teammates for just helping you out with something. Simple as that. Hey, who knows? Maybe if Bill helps me with some more college recruiting, I can shoot him $50. You know, it's a good way to thank your partners for helping you out. I don't know of any company that has a program like that. So I know that when I came to Kimley-Horn, I was really surprised and really loved that opportunity. It's a good way to just show someone that they kind of went above and beyond. I've had a couple times where I was scrambling to get things ready for an intern event, and one of our admins, she's an hourly employee. She did not need to stay and help me late work on stuff, but she was printing things and cutting things out and doing a bunch of stuff for me because I messed a bunch of things up and had an event the next day. And she didn't need to do that. And I was able to send her $50 for helping me out. Like, yeah, I could thank her personally, but like I was able to shoot her some money and be like, hey, thanks for staying late and scrambling to print stuff with me. Like she didn't have to do that. So it's little, but I think it's just something that's fun and unique to Kimley-Horn.
It's like you could thank somebody, and you can thank somebody and also give them $50.
Exactly. And it's not your money. I mean, it's Kimley-Horn's money. So you
I
just
give
say,
those things
hey.
out like hotcakes.
We do have a limit on teamwork awards though, I will say. And so there are some people that must be very helpful because I'll try to give them one and they're like, this person has maxed out the amount of teamwork awards they have. I'm like, wow, they're really going above and beyond. I definitely have not maxed out my teamwork awards. I think I need to be a little bit more friendly or something. But the one last thing I'll hit on here is our retirement contributions. Once again, something you might not really be thinking about right now when you're in school, but I highly recommend that you look at this when you are starting to look at companies you want to work at when you graduate. Our retirement contributions are absolutely insane. Part of the reason that they are so significant is also because we're employee owned. We're a private firm. We can do what we want with our money. So we choose to give a lot of that money back to our employees through bonuses and through retirement contributions. I think that's a pretty good way to spend our money, personally. So I could go into like all of these details of how much money you could eventually have when you retire, which isn't necessary, but ultimately you could put 4% of your salary in your 401k and walk away with 22% in your 401k, which is crazy. Like some companies will literally say like, oh, you put in 4%, we'll give you 2%, like not 18%. If you start to do the math like later on, and it's your salary plus your bonus, I should say. So if you start to do your math later on and you're making like $100,000 as your salary and your bonus is like 50, $70,000, taking 10% of that, it's pretty outrageous the amount of money you can end up with. I mean, one of my mentors here at Kimley-Horn, he sits in Florida. He is counting down the days till he turns 52 and he's out of here. He has only worked at Kimley-Horn, and he reminds me every day that he can't wait to be on the golf course at 52 and get out of here as much as he loves Kimley-Horn. But he's only worked here forever. And I'm like, I look at my parents who are older than 52 and they are still working pretty hard. And so it's a pretty great feeling to know that you're in a good position later on in your career. Cool. Any questions here? I'm going to kind of fly through a couple of the next slides so that Bill can talk more. Not that they're not
talking.
I know, not that they're not important, but these are kind of the main parts about Kimley-Horn that I think I wanted to get across. So Our LIFT program stands for Lasting Impact for Tomorrow. And we created our LIFT program probably about 6 years ago or so. Essentially, we started to notice that we were really struggling retaining women at the mid-level of their career. So Kimley-Horn has some amazing statistics in terms of being within an engineering consulting industry, and our amount of women within our firm, honestly, it's pretty amazing. I love that you walk around and you don't feel like any team is, outnumbered male to female. But we realized that we were struggling retaining women mid-level in their career, perhaps around when they may have children, or life just is different. So we created our LIFT initiative to create some schedule flexibility, backup childcare options for some of our mothers, buddy programs so that moms that were in practice could talk with other moms in practice about how they manage their time, perhaps with a family and things like that. We're starting to expand our LIFT program to even more things for working dads and things like that, other people, and things kind of even outside of people with families, and just other ways that we can continue to be flexible and support, especially our women, throughout their career. So what I love about our LIFT initiative, it sounds pretty basic, but like we saw that we were struggling retaining women and we did something about it. I think there's so many companies where it's like, oh man, we're really struggling with our retention, and then they just like hire more women, and it's like that's not really where the root of the problem though. It's how do we retain women in their career to become leaders? Like you can't just have all the women at an analyst level and then not retain them in order to be in leadership positions. And so I just think it's really cool that Kimley-Horn took the initiative to do something about it versus just kind of try and put a band-aid on it and see how it goes. We are starting to see a pretty big impact that it's been making. So that's been pretty cool. It took a couple years, right, for like the programs and stuff to get going, but now it's been about 5 years and we are starting to see that uptick. So exciting stuff. Fun. I always love this slide because like a lot of these people work in my office, so I actually know them, which is fun. But we like to have fun. We have certain people in every office. We call them our VPs of fun, which is kind of silly, but also funny at the same time. And they get to plan different events throughout the office. We have certain groups as well for young professionals. Bill and I might be on the cusp of like, I think we're still young professionals.
I hope I'm still a young professional.
I hope I am. Like they might have to kick me out eventually if I'm getting up there. But it's a great way, especially if you like move to a new office and you don't really know anybody, to go to different young professional events and let's be honest, meet more people around your age that you can be friends with outside of work as well. I was just talking to someone who moved here to the Twin Cities from I took him from Ohio and made him move to Minnesota. And he's just gotten an opportunity to really get to know a lot of people through our young professional events. And meet people that he might not have ordinarily met throughout the office that weren't on his team. So just really cool opportunities to meet people in the office, but also outside of work too.
I tell you, I moved to Dallas, not knowing a single person. Been to Texas for the interview, and that was it. The VP of Fun program was, sounds corny, but it puts you in the same situation with, friends to this day, friends I went to Europe with since then. Put them in the same room, go out to bowl, go out to play some softball. Put you in a situation where you're not doing AutoCAD and you're not trying to produce work and be the best at what we do. It's when you're coming from somewhere that you're not familiar with and the situation is created for you to take advantage of. It's a huge thing. It was very helpful for me personally.
Absolutely. Yeah, I moved from Wisconsin, I guess, to Minnesota, so not that far, but still, I loved getting to go to. We apparently love baseball games here in Minnesota because we do a lot of baseball games, but I got the chance to meet a lot of people that I didn't see throughout the office, at some different social events and baseball games and stuff like that, and I still have a lot better relationships with them through some of these events too. Cool. So service. We have a foundation called the Kimley-Horn Foundation, where we are able to donate money to a variety of different charities throughout the country. We like to do a lot of focus on smaller communities, or like charities that are more local to the communities that we serve. Nothing wrong with the Red Cross and some of those wonderful organizations, but we like to make an impact in the communities that we work in, if at all possible. So I know I'm actually volunteering at a event this Friday that we have here in the Twin Cities with a local charity that we're able to donate money to from the Kimley-Horn Foundation. But if there's a foundation that you're really passionate about or a charity that is really important to you, you can submit a grant to the Kimley-Horn Foundation and be able to donate money through Kimley-Horn to that charity as long as you do actively volunteer there. So over the past 10 years, we've donated over $1 million to a variety of different charities across the country. Something that we're super proud of. And I know I've loved being, I don't personally have like a charity that I've submitted a grant for, but I've loved getting the opportunity to volunteer at different events or with different charities through people in my office that are really involved. So if that's something that you're passionate about, you can absolutely continue to be passionate about it here at Kimley-Horn. Cool. I'm going to kind of skip over this page because I don't like to fully read words at people, but the ones I like to point out are growth, collaboration, adaptation, and reinvention here in green, because I do think that honestly is what we're all about. We're always trying to grow, but we're trying to grow together and collaborate, work with our partners, adapt and reinvent ourselves. So I think that those are just some of the words that I really like here. Cool. So here's where you can apply online. I'm going to put my email in the chat box as well, so that if you're interested, you can send me an email directly to with a resume or just some information or things like that. But I'm going to have Bill talk a little bit here. I know we're kind of running short on time, but hopefully we can talk a little bit more unless you cut us off, which I understand.
Alrighty, so we're going to look at one project. It's going to have 3 different plan sets, and Bridget, I'm not sure the best way to do this. I don't know if I can control this or not, but
You can just tell me when to switch. I know there's 3 slides.
Should be easy enough. So what we're looking at right here was I had helped contribute to a project that we were doing here in Columbus out in Easton. I don't know if you guys eat at a local spot called Panera. They sell bread. The one on Morse Road, directly north of all the car dealerships there, Kimley-Horn redeveloped that old, I believe it was a Chinese restaurant, and redeveloped that into this Panera. And this is one of the first projects that we engaged in the city of Columbus since we opened up our office here. And it was unique because, especially for me, because I feel like this project was where I began to really transition from plan production, design, and engineering to beginning to work in some more coordination with the client, coordination with the city, coordination with some of our different project partners on this. So one of the unique things that I wanted to talk about with this project specifically was some of the nuance that we will see within various jurisdictions, specifically the city of Columbus. So this is gosh, I want to say it was just under 2 acres, keeping about half of the site, redeveloping the other half. Project scope involved the demolition of a building, construction of our new Panera, construction of various stormwater conveyance methods, and water quality BMPs. We needed to pursue permitting for the construction of our site through the city of Columbus and through the Ohio EPA. So specifically what we're looking at here is the cover sheet for our Storm CC plan set. So something unique about the city of Columbus is that they have a million different departments for a million different things. With some of these bigger jurisdictions, you'll find that the processes that they utilize to get things built and developed vary greatly. So some cities, the cities that I prefer to work in actually, will be the ones that you submit everything under the cover of one set of plans. Now, what makes the city of Columbus unique, and what I feel like I've been able to really increase my understanding of and grow into somebody that can lead these projects, is the various aspects and the various groups that we need to submit to and receive permitting from with the city. So within this plan set, we're proposing nothing except our means of stormwater conveyance and erosion control. The city of Columbus will have one specific group that reviews this, hopefully approves it, or did approve this, and returns back to us. Bridget, could you flip to that next slide, please? Next side being our water service plan. So if you are proposing anything that involves the connection to a public main with a private water service, you need to submit one of these plans. So again, this is a very specific plan that strictly contains what we intend to propose as it relates to our private water service. So you're thinking, hey, what's a private water service? Private water service is exactly what it sounds like in that it is the service of your water to your building that is used for both domestic drinking purposes and hopefully not, but putting out fires. So not too much really to go over with these. It's funny, I talk about these and you can run through the contents and scope that are contained within these pretty quickly, but when it comes down to actually producing these plans, there's so much that goes into them that really don't have anything to do with the engineering. The city of Columbus will dictate down to text style, text size, where we're putting notes. They'll dictate that down to just the most minute scale, and it becomes a little bit of a challenge, almost equally so to the engineering design, to present what we need to present in a way the city or jurisdiction will be receptive to it, along with the content and actual engineering design that's contained within. So Bridget, do you mind flipping to the next slide, please? So the three that I've shown you so far, Storm CC, Water Service, and now Final Site, are the three typical sets that we will need to prepare in order to receive a building permit from the city of Columbus. Now, I say these three plans because when you think about something getting built, in a typical situation, a new building will need to have water. You'll need to have a way to get the storm water off the site. And you'll need to prove through the means of this plan, the final site compliance plan, that you meet the requirements as put forth by city zoning. Now, I think it's good that we save this one for last because, city zoning is, and this might have been my lack of paying attention in school, but not really something that we ever dug into in any of my engineering classes on how to interpret city code, how to take something that is being put forth by a local jurisdiction that may have to do with something you never looked at before and accurately represent that on your plan set, accurately interpret some means of zoning compliance and how that may affect your site. There's all sorts of work that we'll do before we even consider what's going on in these plan sets that is strictly related to how city zoning dictates what we can do with our site. City zoning will dictate what you can do in terms of land use. Can you even build a restaurant here? How close can your building be to various property lines? And these are all things that seem very straightforward, but you'd be amazed with the level of detail that some city code gets into with what you can or can't do. So this plan set, and under the cover of this, we prove to the city that what we are doing meets what they dictate per their zoning code. We tell them what's allowed, we tell them what's provided, and hopefully we got everything right and they'll approve us. So, for this scope of a project with tearing a building down, building a new building up, keeping it under 2 acres, typically these three sets are what we're going to focus on as far as our pure engineering plan production goes. I mentioned earlier we need to submit to the Ohio EPA, which is a separate submittal, different than these three plan sets, which will be more involved with reporting of how we are actually meeting our water quality. We'll partner with some other consultants around the area. I believe on this project, we partner with Contech, who specializes in stormwater BMP design. And through coordination with them, and this was a unique opportunity for me because it was the first time I was able to handle this solo, but through coordination with them, we were able to design a BMP structure that was going to be able to treat all of our stormwater runoff underground within a hydrodynamic separator, which is installed in the storm structure before it left the site. There's such a variety of different things we need to pay attention to as we are pulling together one of these sets. Understanding the scope of what you do is one of the most important things you can do really with anything that we're putting together, because at the end of the day, like Richard said before, we're consultants. We have a product to sell. In the most broad sense, that product is our time. So how are we going to use our time most effectively? Well, we can forecast out where our time needs to be spent. I think the most value I've been able to derive from my time here in Columbus has been the variety of projects I've been able to get my hands on in order to have a better understanding of what that variety might look like. What is the different types of scope we can take on? And what is the different kind of work that we can do with this degree and with this PE license that hopefully, if everything goes to plan, I'll receive here in the upcoming spring. But this is just a quick little snippet, and I can feel myself talking faster here. But this is just a quick little snippet of some of the production related scope that we'll take on and my role with that typical 2-acre type project. So if anyone has any questions for my role on this project and how that may have changed, my role at Kimley-Horn and how that's changed, or I guess really anything with Kimley-Horn, I'm happy to take any questions that y'all may have. Everyone's so talkative.
I will say I did mute myself quick because my dog did find a squeaky toy. I thought I hid them all, but if you hear a slight squeak, we're just gonna mute.
Okay, any questions for Bill and Bridget, guys?
I know we went over. I do that all the time. I talk too much. I'm so
It's okay.
sorry.
As long as these people want to keep going. They're still here, so. Okay, well, if there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. So, oh, Anthony's here. Anthony, do you have something to say? Notice your face popped up.
Yeah, it was good seeing you, Bridget and Bill.
Hi,
Bill,
Anthony.
why did you cut your hair? I miss
Nobody
seeing
wants to see me
the-
with that. I'm supposed
Oh,
to
I
look
miss seeing
professional.
it.
No one needed to
that.
see Bill's quarantine hair.
Consider yourself in a rare group of people that got to see me looking like
I
was
was
going into hiding.
I was a little surprised and startled when I saw it the first time.
Most people were. I don't think that's a good thing.
I
Yeah,
will
you're
say
like two different people, honestly.
I am sorry, and now my dog is distracting everyone. I'm going to put my email in this chat box. Feel free to reach out to me if you have other questions after this. If you're interested in Kimley-Horn, of course, apply online, but I'm the one that would be looking at the applications anyways, so you can just email me your information and I would love to talk with you there as well.
Since there's only 6 of you, I'll throw my email in there as well.
Cool. But I really appreciate you guys coming and listening to us today. I know it's not always as fun. On campus, I like to, bring free food and, I tend to bribe some people to come that way, but I unfortunately can't do that virtually. But I really appreciate you guys coming to listen to us.
Yeah, thanks, Bridget and Bill. You guys seem like great advocates for Kimley-Horn. I remember Bridget coming last year, and it was a lot of fun. I remember we had those Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets. I think that was. It's the first time we ever had Chick-fil-A nugget catered. So
fan favorite.
Yeah, too bad we can't get delivery for all 6 of us sent out.
I know. I've thought about like other ways to try and do it, but I haven't come up with a good virtual format quite yet.
Yeah,
but
we're
who
struggling
knows?
with that too, because
Yeah.
what do you do about the food situation?
Food's
In
a
any
big
case,
deal.
Thank you guys so much for presenting. This was great. I know we don't usually get as much turnout as we do when it's in person, but I know Angela and Heidi got a lot out of this, I'm sure. So it's great for both of them. Anthony has been here for most of the time, and I personally enjoyed it as well. So thank you guys so much.
Cool.
Glad
Yeah,
you guys
thanks
found value in
everyone.
it. Thanks for having us.